counsel has just come in. You will recall that at the beginning of your testimony, when you testified on Monday, I pointed out to you that there is a possibility or a risk, depending on your evidence. As I compare it with the other evidence I've heard, there is a risk that there could be a recommendation that you be prosecuted. You remember that?
Yes.
Yes. In particular, I want to quote for you the provisions of Section 16 of the Inquest Act. I'm putting the whole thing in context so that the questions I ask you, you must constantly bear this in mind. Section 16(2) of the Inquest Act reads as follows: the judicial officer holding an inquest shall record a finding upon the inquest. And I move on to, is 2A, B, C, and I move on to D. D says, a finding as to whether the death was brought about by any act or omission prima facie involving or amounting to an offense on the part of any person. Close quote. Now that is the answer, the question I must answer. Now, over the past few weeks, I have had evidence here from experts, from former detainees who presented the kind of evidence that says to me, your story either is not probable or is completely false, as it appeared in the 1972 inquest records. Now, you came here and basically confirmed what you said in 1972. Now, I have to answer this question, and in doing so, I need to be clear in my mind that certain issues which bother me have been canvassed with you. In other words, I'm giving you an opportunity to address those things that bother me in terms of your version of events. The first one is the question of the assault. You recall on Monday you testified that when I asked you whether you know anything about the assault of detainees, do you recall what you said?
Yes, I had no knowledge, sir.
Yes, and you said the only information you have is about what you find in the media.
That's correct.
You recall that?
Yes.
Now, incidentally, that is what your former colleague, Els, said to us. Els said exactly that.
Yes,
that he came to know about assaults on detainees through the media. But when he was pressed further, he said something else. Now, before I tell you what he said, I want to hear what you have to say. Are you still saying to us that you learned about the assault of the detainees in the media?
That's correct, sir.
And no other source?
No other source. I've seen it on TV. I think I've seen it on TV, on the radio, and in the newspapers.
Yes, let's go back to that time, around 1971.
Yep.
Did you ever had occasion to discuss with any officer about this, this story about detainees being assaulted? You want to tell me now that you never raised it with a single officer?
Sir, where I worked in the security police, in Compol building, the 2 sections that were there, as I told you, die ondervragingseenheid en die ondersoekeenheid se werksaamhede en hulle doen en late was 'n absolute geheim. So daar was nie vir my 'n manier hoe ek kon te wete kom wat daar binnekant aangaan nie.
No. I'm not asking you whether you inquired in the from the security police.
Ja,
Just your colleagues, members of the police, uniformed police, detectives, whoever. You want to tell this court that you have never ever discussed this issue with any one of your former colleagues, being a police person, to say, you know, there's this talk about detainees being assaulted, you know.
ja.
You have never done that.
No, I've never done that.
So in other words, you heard it from the media and you want to stay with that answer.
Yes.
Good. Now, we had evidence here from Mr. Frank Dutton. He's a former policeman, a decorated police official, who told this court that in the normal procedure of police, once a prisoner or a suspect escapes, the people who were on guard of that suspect, there need to be an inquiry, a disciplinary inquiry for those people. Is he correct?
He's correct, yes.
Now, if he's correct, was there a disciplinary inquiry held in your case?
Ek is nooit verhoor nie, ek is nooit departementeel verhoor nie. Daar was nie so iets vir my nie.
There was not even a mention of it.
No.
And did you inquire whether there will be such a thing?
No, I never inquired, sir. As daar 'n verhoor was, waarin ek verskyn het en daar's 'n vonnis gevel, sou dit op my rekord gewees het. En daar's niks nie. Ek was nie betrokke nie, Ragman.
No one has ever told you about it. Have you ever, after you resigned from the police, ever given a thought as to why this didn't happen? Have you asked yourself, but why I let a person escape, why didn't this happen? Why didn't they hold this disciplinary proceedings?
It never entered my mind, sir.
This is one of the questions that I have to confront.
Yeah.
I have to deal with that. I don't have an answer.
I think I might have been lucky or something. I don't know.
Oh.
But they never tried to.
It could be a question of luck, you say.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay. I want us to go to your affidavit. Do you have a copy there before you?
Yes, sir.
Affidavit is on, yes. Now, in your affidavit is 4 pages. There's 1 page missing here.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
page 3. But basically, that is the page that I would take it from the judgment of the magistrate. It describes the incident itself. But now on page 1 and page 2, you basically narrate how you came to be at John Foster Square.
Yes.
What was the reason for you being there and so on.
That's correct.
Now, on page 1, paragraph 3 of that affidavit, you see the last sentence there? Ek het hom nie ondervra nie.
Yeah.
Why did you say that in your affidavit? If you went there to deliver checks, why was it necessary for you to say that?
Ek wou dit duidelik maak dat ek geen kennis gedra het van die omstandighede waaronder ek gearresteer is nie, eerlaagbare. Ek wil dit baie duidelik maak. Ek het hom nie ondervra nie, want ek het nie rede gehad om hom te ondervra nie, want ek het nie kennis gedra van die omstandighede nie.
Yes, but it could not have been expected of you to question him, interview him, or interrogate him, because, as you said to us, you were a sergeant in the administration who went there to deliver checks. But I find it strange that you raised this on your own accord.
Ek het verwag dat die mense my gaan vra. Het jy hom ondervra?
So you were answering the question in anticipation.
In anticipation. And so I said no beforehand.
Well, then let's go to page 4 of your affidavit, paragraph 18. The last sentence there, ek het hom nooit ondervra of aangerand nie. You
Ja.
see it?
Ja.
Why was it there?
Dit is die instruksie wat ek van brigadier Buys gekry het, generaal Buys gekry het. Hy het gesê ek moet dit noem.
Oh,
Ek weet nie hoekom nie, maar ek moes dit noem dat ek hom nooit ondervra het of aangerand het nie.
so then your affidavit contains suggestions from General Bays. In other words, some of the things that have been said here came from General Bays. Is that
No.
what you're telling us?
Nou,
Because that's what you're saying about this sentence. You're saying that it comes from Bays.
ja, maar hy het dit aanbeveel by my.
Yes, I
Dat ek-
understand when you
dat ek
say
dit moes-
unbefehl, it means they gave you instruction to include it.
Ja, maar dis die waarheid. Ek moes die waarheid praat. En dit is die waarheid. Eerlagbare. Want ek weet hulle was besig om hom te ondervra, maar ek was nie daarbey betrokke nie. Dus
Yes,
ek kom het
but
gesê het.
you'll agree with me that it is out of context. If you're a clerk going to deliver checks, what had you got to do with assaulting anybody?
Ja.
It's just not in sync with what you're saying here.
Ek weet nie, ek kan nie vir u 'n antwoord gee, die eerlagbare, maar dit is wat Buys vir my gesê het, ek moet dit sê. Sodat daar duidelikheid is dat ek nie deel was van die ondervragingsspan nie.
You deposed to your affidavit on the 11th of November.
Ja,
You see, it stands down there.
ja.
Before General Bays. When you go to the affidavit of Captain Gloy, there is also this exclusion. I did not assault him, or he was not assaulted in my presence. In fact, that clause runs through most of the affidavits that were filed. And I became curious, why would every one of the people who are coming through raise this, the question of assault, on their own, without anybody else asking them? They just raised it. On Gloy, it appears. In fact, let's get to Gloy. Gloy's affidavit, I don't know if you have it there. Counsel, would you make one available for the witness?
Meneer Rodrigues, is hulle nie iewers hier? Is it?
On the last page of that affidavit, the top paragraph there, the last sentence. Oorledene was nooit aangerand of gedreig nie. And you'll find it in all affidavit, Bean's affidavit, Van Veek's affidavit, who else? I think even Van Riekerk's affidavit. But you find it there in those affidavits, where there is this sentence. People seem to be falling over each other to say, I did not assault. I did not assault him, or he was not assaulted in my presence. That's the essence of it, and I want to know what was the significance of that. And you say that it was General Bays who came with us.
Ja,
Okay. Right, and also common in all the affidavits, I see that they were deposed to before General Bays, and he was the investigating officer.
Yes.
Was that correct in terms of procedure?
I don't know whether it's correct in terms of procedures, but maar ek het nie gesê gehad nie, ek moes my verklaring aflê voor generaal Buys, want hy die ding ondersoek. Jy verstaan, eerlagbare? Ek het nie 'n keuse gehad om my verklaring by enigiemand anders af te lê.
You did not have a choice.
No.
Now, my concern is this person, General Bates, by the way, is the general you said to us tried to tell you to write certain things that were false in your affidavit. Now, what should I infer from that? That probably with other witnesses, he might have had an influence in one way or the other on the content of their affidavits. Would I be wrong to do that? To draw an inference, to say, it looks like in the affidavits of others, if he was able to suggest that to you, to say something that you said didn't happen, that you were wrestling with Timol, is it possible that he said it to others as well, to change their version?
I don't know. Ek het nie insaag in hulle verklarings nie. Ek weet nie eerlagbare. Ek weet nie of hy dit gedoen het nie.
And the other problem I have with General Bay's role in the whole thing is that in the course of investigation, long after Mr. Timol had passed on, he went to Timol's home to go and search for documents. And he doesn't explain why he did that. Long after Timol had passed on, he was appointed to investigate the death of Mr. Timol.
Yes.
But there he is going there to go and search for documents.
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know why he went there.
Now, it is the same General Bays who, on the 31st of October, 3 days after Mr. Timol passed on, went to the media and issued a statement that it was suicide. You were shown copies of the media reports by Advocate Victorious. You remember that?
Yes.
When he questioned you.
Yeah.
That was the 31st of October. Then immediately after that, on the 4th of November, Captain Gloy wrote his statement, his affidavit, before General Bays. And yours only came on the 11th of November. Now, would I be correct to say that the version of suicide, which was disclosed by General Bays, even before you could write your statement, is the version that influenced all other statements that came thereafter?
Dit kan nie so wees nie, eerlagbare, want my verklaring het ek persoonlik afgelê. Ek het hom nie self geskryf nie, maar ek het persoonlik afgelê en ek het hom geteken en ek het hom deurgelees en ek het niks verkeerd daarmee gevind nie.
Yes, but then we'll come to your statement because it does not contain certain things that you have said to us in this court.
Yeah.
And you need to explain those and why they're not in the statement. But then let's go back to the version of Gloy and Van Niekerk. They deposed to the affidavits before yours. And in their statements, they said that when you came into the room, Mr. Timol was busy with some notes. Let me quote Gloy on paragraph 5. second line to the sentence. Ahmed Timol het op hierdie stadium weer eens gesit aan die een kant van die tafel. Hy het nog steeds notas gemaak oor sy verbintenis en deelname in verband met die Communiste Party.
Ek kan dit nie onthou nie, edelagbare.
No, but you testified here to say when you got in, you was not doing anything. You were sitting there looking across at Gloy. You can't say you don't remember them today. The other day you said he was, when you came in, he had his back on you and he was sitting on the table and he was looking across to Gloy.
Ja,
Yes, that's what you said.
ja,
So do you realize that this contradicts what you said to us?
yes.
Yes, and what do you say about it?
Ek kan nie onthou dat hy besig was om te skryf nie, edelagbare.
No, it's not a question of you remembering. I mean, I said to you that you told us that when you entered, you was facing
Yeah.
Gloy. You didn't say you don't remember. You said you was facing Gloy.
Ja, he was facing Gloy, that's correct,
Yes.
edelagbare.
But you didn't tell us that you was writing.
No, I didn't see him writing. I can't remember him writing.
Let's leave it at that. Now, Advocate Pretorius and Advocate Varney took you through parts of the evidence that were presented here. And the evidence that was presented by other witnesses, which raises serious questions about your version. You dismiss that as bespiegeling,
Ja,
that it was speculation.
it was speculation, ja.
Let's get to the medical report first. Now, the medical doctors who testified before me based their reports on the report of the autopsy. Now, the autopsy was conducted by Dr. Skeppers. Then, in 1971, shortly after the death of Mr. Timol, Dr. Skeppers did the autopsy. And later he was joined by Dr. Clarkman. And Dr. Koch also had insight into that report, as well as the assessor who was sitting with the magistrate, who was medically qualified. They all conceded that there were injuries that were there which are not consistent with the fall. They all conceded that. The debate was to how old are the wounds. That's where they differed. You know, two doctors agreed, the one did not agree with. Whether this wound or these injuries were sustained during the detention period or before Mr. Timol was arrested. That was the debate. So what I'm telling you now is fact, that there were injuries which were not consistent with the fall. I haven't had any evidence that says otherwise. As to what extent were these injuries serious, that is a matter that falls to opinions of doctors. Now, with Dr. Holland, who testified here, and I want to take you to her evidence. She testified, amongst others, on the basis of the autopsy and with reference to the photographs of the body of Mr. Timol, right? That is not speculation. That there was an autopsy is not speculation. That there were injuries sustained before the fall is not speculation. Now, some of the injuries, as it was put to you, were on the face, on the eye in particular. You say that you did not see them.
Dis korrek, edelagbare, ek het dit nie gesien nie.
Now, what should I do? Should I accept your version and reject the report of the autopsy that there was an injury on the eye?
Wel,
Because I cannot accept both.
nee, je kan niet. Ik besef dit heeltemal.
Ja.
Maar je moet onthou, dit was 46 jaar geleden. Ik mag vergeet het. Ik weet niet.
Oh no.
Ik kon het niet zien nie. Zover ek kan onthou, het ek dit nie gesien nie.
No, but now you see, Mr. Rodrigues, don't change your evidence now.
No, I don't change my evidence.
Yes. You said you did not see the injury.
Yeah.
Now, why are you making reference to 46 years old?
Ja,
That you may have forgotten. Either you saw or you did not see.
all right, I didn't see it.
Or you don't remember.
Yeah.
It can be both.
Ja. Well,
You did not see it. You stay with the story that you did not see.
yes, I did not see.
Yes, but now the autopsy says it was there. And now I'm putting the question to you. I have to take a decision here to decide between what you are saying. If I accept your version, it means I must reject that of the autopsy to say there were no such injuries. And the other way around. If I accept the autopsy, then it means your evidence is false. I must reject it. Do you realize where I stand now?
Yeah,
That's why I say I want you to, through your comment, to help me out. What should I do? in
I can't
relation to
remember, sir. I can't remember seeing any marks on his face. Let me put it that way, and maybe you'll understand that.
You cannot remember seeing
No,
any marks.
I can't remember.
So there could have been marks on his face.
It's possible, but I didn't see it. I can't remember.
Look, you can't remember seeing it or you can't remember.
I can't remember. I can't remember seeing it on his face.
Okay. Right, there was evidence received, and I will stop on the medical. Let me get to the expert from the trajectory, who pointed out, and Mr. Varney put it to you early this morning, that if Mr. Timol had jumped, right? If he had jumped or dived, as you say, he would not have landed where he landed, the spot where he landed, where he was found on the ground. He would have landed nearer the building. You follow? Now, that evidence is in conflict or inconsistent with your version. Now, why should I say that the evidence of Mr. Moodley should be rejected? And I must accept yours.
Ek kan nie onthou dat ek bespiegel het of bespreek het of u gesê het hoe ver die liggaam van die gebou afgelê het nie. Ek kan dit nie onthou nie.
No, but we are telling you that it landed about, where's that report? Several meters away from the building. At least far enough to be consistent with a push and not a dive. That's how I understand the evidence. And when you were asked by Mr. Varney, you dismissed that as speculation.
Nou wel, ek het nie gemeet of geskat hoe ver die liggaam van die gebou af lê nie, edelagbare, ek weet nie.
Yes, no, I'm not saying you measured or you should have estimated. All I'm telling you is that scientifically, the story from you would have caused the body of Mr. Timol to land nearer the building, if it is to be believed.
Ek kan nie sê nie, edelagbare.
You cannot comment on that.
Nee.
Right. Then also on the medical, I forgot before I go to the other evidence, on the medical, there was...
All right, those proceedings are continuing live from the North Gauteng High Court. And still on the stand there, former security officer Joao Rodrigues, who's still giving testimony on the details.
It's a makeup. Yeah. It's a makeup.
Apartheid activists who allegedly committed suicide from the 10th floor of the John Foster Square building. Partners Julian Stubbs and Myrtle Clark, also known as the Dacha couple, have accused the state of playing delay tactics. Well, this after the couple had approached the Pretoria High Court to compel government to legalize Dacha. Delays were caused due to the state.
Is wat gebeur het.
You stick to your version, in other words.
Ja.
Yes. So if I have to make a choice between the medical evidence and your version, one of them has to go. You agree with me? Right. Now we get to the assault on detainees.
Assault?
Assault.
Ja.
on the detainees.
Ja.
Now, you are aware that Mr. Timol, at the time when he was arrested, he was with Mr. Esop.
I've heard that.
You have heard that. And that shortly after their arrest, there were several other people who were detained, who were, according to the police, linked to Mr. Timol. Have you heard that?
Al wat ek daaroor kan sê is die oomblik toe die man ingekom het en gesê het hulle het nog mense gearresteer of geïdentifiseer wat meelopers van Timol was. Dis al wat ek weet.
Yeah, no, even after that, Mr. Rodrigues, after that you must have, because you say you get your information from the media, surely you must have learned from the media that there were other people who were arrested with Mr. Timol. Not necessarily that you got the information from John Foster Square, but that you must have known, because you cannot expect this court to believe that since that incident to this day, you don't know that there were other people who were arrested with Mr. Timol. You must have known at some point. There's no harm in that.
Ek moes dit gehoor het, edelagbare, maar ek kan dit nie onthou nie.
Yes, but I'm telling you now that there were such people arrested. And of those people, those who came to testify, all of them without exception, pointed out that they were assaulted and in fact tortured during the arrest.
I can't comment on that.
You cannot comment on that. Right. Now, in particular, in regard to Mr. Esop, who you know about, he was tortured such that a day before the death of Mr. Timol, he had to be admitted to the hospital, Johannesburg Hospital, and later the hospital here in Pretoria, which was then called H.F. Verwoerd. He was in a coma.
Ek het geen kommentaar daarop nie, edelagbare.
Yes, I want you to listen to me carefully because this narrative is important that you must put the thing in context.
Ja.
It was while he was in hospital in a coma that his father, with the assistance of lawyers, approached this court. It was then called the Transvaal Provincial Division of the Supreme Court of South Africa, this court, the predecessor to the High Court. And two judges heard the case. Now, Mr. Esop's father wanted a restraining order that the police must not assault or torture Mr. Esop. One of the people cited as a respondent in that case was Colonel Greylen. You remember Colonel Greylen? He features
from the Timol story, yes.
Yes, he features in your affidavit. He was cited as a respondent. And in defense of that case, he filed an affidavit stating in essence that Mr. Esop, Salim Esop, the detainee, was not assaulted. Now, the two judges who heard the application rejected that evidence and in fact described Colonel Greylen as being less than honest. And they went on to hold that, in fact, Mr. Salim Esop was assaulted. That was the finding of two judges in this court. And their judgment was delivered in February 1972, about 3-4 months before the inquest could start, the inquest of 72 could start. So at the time when that inquest started, it was clear that Colonel Greylen has been discredited as a witness on the question of assault. There's no affidavit here from Colonel Creeley. Now, this is where you come in. In your affidavit, you mentioned that you reported the fall of Mr. Timol to Colonel Creeley. You remember it?
I remember it, yes.
Yes. It's on page 4 of your affidavit, paragraph 16. Ek het onmiddellik uit die kantoor gehardloop en geskree dat Timol deur die venster gespring het en die aangeleentheid gerapporteer aan luitenant-kolonel Greyland.
Ja, want wat kan ek verduidelik hier, Lagaware?
No, there's no need to. I just want you to respond to what I'm saying to me. You have already testified about this.
Ja, okay.
Now, this Colonel Greyland is one of the only 3 people who would back up, let me say 4 people, one to some extent, who will back up your version. Are you aware of that?
No.
It's Colonel Greyland, to whom you made the report. Is Captain Gloy. It's Captain Van Nieker. Now, Brigadier Patel came up with a different story to that of yours, and I would count him in. But so far, those are the 3 witnesses who filed affidavits in support of your version. Do you remember any other?
No.
Right. Now, Colonel Greyland did not file any affidavit. He did not testify. And the only 2 people who testified, who supported your affidavit, is Captain Gloy and Captain Van Nieker. The 2 people who deny that they never assaulted Mr. Timol. Right? Now, I'm still on that side. Evidence that I have received here in terms of J2. Exhibit J2. I want to bring you into the picture. That in terms of J2, Colonel or Captain Van Niekerk and Captain Gloy had about 13 or were implicated in about 13 cases of assault of detainees. Some of them going as far as February 1972. These are people who are saying they never assaulted a detainee. They are implicated in 13 cases.
Moet ik antwoord, heer Lagbare?
Yes, you can comment.
U sien, heer Lagbare, ek verwys terug na die paragraaf, die laaste sin van my paragraaf, van my verklaring, waar ek gesê het, ek het hom nooit ondervra of aangerand nie. U sien, daar was soveel stories van aanranding en tydens ondervragings in die polisie, dat generaal Buys gesê het, sê liewester jy het dit nie gedoen nie, dan weet ons jy het dit nie gedoen nie.
Yes, that is precisely the problem.
Ja.
Mr. Rodrigues, that is precisely the problem. That is precisely the problem. That if Colonel Bays wrote or suggested certain things to you, which you put in your affidavit, then it is no longer your affidavit.
U sien, in my verklaring het ek net die waarheid gepraat, edelagbare. Ek het nie my laat beïnvloed deur kolonel Buys nie. Ek het net die waarheid gepraat, want ek het hom nie aangerand nie, en ek het hom ook nie ondervra nie. Dit is die waarheid. Ek het geen onwaarhede in my verklaring nie. Jy sien, dit is hoe dit staan. Ek sou nie enige iets van Buys in my verklaring gesit het wat nie waar is nie.
Yes, but then you wrote what he suggested to you.
Ja, wel, wat hy vir my gesê het, was aanvaarbaar, edelagbare, dat ek hom nie aangerand het of ondervra het nie. Dit was vir my 'n aanvaarbare waarheid wat ek in my verklaring kon sit.
The difficulty with that is that it appears in Gloy and other witnesses' affidavits. There is a line that
Ja.
links there.
Ja, maar
You follow what I'm saying?
Ja, ek volg wat
You may say that you did not assault or interrogate Mr. Timol.
Correct.
Now, I have to conclude that if your version is correct, then probably even the versions of all of them are correct. That they did not assault Mr. Timol. I must accept those versions. That's what logic dictates.
Ja.
Okay?
Ja.
Right. Then the big question arises. How did the injuries get onto Mr. Timol?
Edelagbare, soos wat ek verstaan, kyk, ek spekuleer ook nou, né? Soos wat ek verstaan, is Timol oor 'n tydperk van dae ondervra deur verskillende mense. Soos ek verstaan, ek was nie by nie. En in daai tydperk kon enigiets gebeur het. So ek weet nie.
Fair enough. So you agree that during that time of detention, something could have happened. That's what you're saying.
Ja, ek
Yes.
meen,
So I must accept that right from the evening of the 22nd, when he was arrested with Mr. Eso, anything could have happened during that period, which brought about those injuries.
ek kan nie vir u sê dit het gebeur nie. Ek kan net spekuleer vir u sê daar is 'n tydperk waarin daar hy beserings kon opgedoen het, maar ek kan nie vir u sê dit het gebeur nie. So dit is
Yes, what you're doing is you're opening the door for me to look at that possibility that it could have happened. And I agree with you.
ja,
I agree with you that while you are now saying that you were not involved, you are extricating yourself from that. Others could have brought about those injuries. You agree?
dis moontlik. Ek was nie daarbey betrokke nie, edelagbare, so ek weet nie. Maar dit kon gebeur het. Ek meen daar was 4 dae. Of ek weet nie hoeveel dae nie, daar was 'n paar dae wat hy ondervra was. Ek was nie by nie, so ek sal nie weet nie.
Now, let's come to your evidence at court during the hearing of the first inquest. You testified that before you could write your statement, you had Gloy and Van Niekerk trying to persuade you to include other things you cannot remember. Am I right?
Dis korrek.
Then subsequent thereto, on the 11th, when you took down the statement with General Bays, 11th of November, he suggested to you that you include this story about you wrestling with Mr. Timol.
Dis korrek.
I'm correct so far.
Dis korrek.
Then you said when you went to court to testify, you had a number of officials present there.
Dis korrek.
Was Mr. Bays one of them? General Bays one of them?
Dis korrek.
Captain Gloy?
Gloy, Van
Van
Niekerk, En van die ander wat ek nie kan onthou nie, edelagbare,
Yes.
die name nie kan onthou nie.
They were present there.
Ja,
After you have rejected General Bay's
ja.
suggestion,
En ek is hulle teenwoordigheid het my geïntimideer, edelagbare, want hulle kon my groot skade berokken het as ek daai tipe van inligting uitgelaat het.
well, that's something you're saying. Now, Mr. Interpreter, I want you to come in here for the benefit of everybody else. Can you repeat what you've just said now? About his presence. You say his presence did what? It intimidated you.
He was intimidated and something very bad could have happened about him.
Yes. What is that something bad that you're talking about?
Edelagbare, dit kon fisies gewees het, dit kon sielkundig gewees het,
It could have been physical, it could have been psychological.
That is,
want die mense was in 'n magtige posisie, edelagbare. Ek was 'n junior.
Because these people were in power and I was a junior.
and yet you defied them.
I didn't,
You did not do what they asked you to
Yeah.
do. You defied them.
ja,
With all their titles and all that sitting in court, you defied them.
ja, dis reg.
Yes, that's correct.
Then why do you say you felt intimidated? If you're brave enough to defy them and get into court and say things that they did not want, that they wanted you, and say things that they wanted you to say, but you didn't tell to the magistrate, you were actually defying them.
Hulle sou my groot skade berokken het as ek die inligting wat hulle wou gehad het ek moet publiseer openbaar maak, edelagbare, sou hulle my swaar gestraf het op 'n sekere manier.
Yeah.
Hulle was in 'n posisie om my swaar te straf op verskillende maniere.
Yeah, they would have done something very bad. I mean, in should I have not divulged what they wanted me to say.
Did they tell you that?
Nou, maar ek kon dit uit hulle houding sien, edelagbare.
I could see them from their
Attitude.
and their perception in what they've been saying.
I better keep quiet.
And
Do you know of an instance where either of them or police officials of that rank had brought harm to a junior officer for not complying with what they're saying?
Nee, ek kan nie vir u spesifieke gevalle uitwys nie, edelagbare.
yeah, there are no specific incidences that I could refer to the court today.
Because I just want to understand the basis of
Yeah.
your fear and intimidation.
Ja.
Then you had it in your head that harm will come to you if you were to disclose that to the magistrate,
Ja.
that they attempted to tell you what to write in your affidavit.
Dit kon fisies gewees het, edelagbare, dit kon sielkundig gewees het.
Yeah, it could have
Hulle kon my geïntimideer het.
It could have been physical, psychological, they could have intimidated me.
Daar was baie maniere waarop hulle dit kon doen, edelagbare.
There's so many ways that they could have done something against me.
And yet, nothing happened to you after you testified.
Nothing happened because I didn't disclose this information, sir. Nothing happened. I kept quiet and nothing happened.
Now, after that, there was a commendation from the commissioner of police. You said you came to know about it shortly before these proceedings.
That's correct.
You never received such commendation.
I never received anything, sir.
And the commendation states it lauds you for exemplary conduct during the force. It says, did they show it to you?
No, no, they didn't show it to me.
Your advocate didn't show it to you?
No. I haven't
haven't
seen
seen
anything
it?
like that yet.
Can I get a reference of it? It's on the, I take it it's on his file.
Page 77 of his personal file. Exhibit J1.
This was the first time I've seen it, sir.
You've never seen it at all, even
No.
your attorneys didn't show you that.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Now, what do you say about it, now that you have seen it?
Al wat ek kan sê, edelagbare, is dat wanneer, kyk, ek spekuleer nou, edelagbare, ek het nie bewyse nie, maar al wat ek vir u kan sê is, ek dink dat wanneer lede die mag verlaat, wat goeie diens gelewer het, dan kry hulle so 'n
Toeken.
so 'n brief soos daardie een.
Yes.
Dis wat ek al wat ek kan dink.
All what I can think of is that all the officers that has just resigned from their duties, they would get that type of a letter, but that's only a speculation.
I will tell you what witness Mr. Paul Erasmus said. He says that it's very rare that an official on retirement would get a letter of commendation from the commissioner. And you held the rank of a sergeant doing administrative work. Yet you get a commendation from the commissioner himself. And he says, "U gedrag is as voorbeeldig bepaal." Your conduct.
Correct.
Yes.
Edelagbare, as ek net kan sien,
Ja.
as ek net kan sien waar ek geteken het dat ek so iets ontvang het, dan sal ek dit erken, maar ek het geen kennis van, dis die eerste maal dat ek dit sien.
Yeah, if I can be shown that letter of commendation and whether I have signed for that letter of commendation, then I would be able to accept
We're informed,
knowledge of that I have received it. But if that is not so, it means I haven't received it.
yes, we're informed that normally this commendation goes to people who have really distinguished themselves in their field as police officers.
Ja,
Yes.
I think that is what I think, sir. Is a letter of the recommendation they give to persons who delivered good service to the police when they leave the police.
Now, the general, the commissioner now of the police at that time, it was G.J. Joubert.
Ja,
He never worked with you at any stage, did he?
no.
You wouldn't say that he knew anything about you, or did he?
No, I can't say. I didn't know him personally, sir.
You have never met him personally?
No.
Yes. Then you recall earlier today when you described the general and those officers who were sitting in court, you said they had enormous influence.
Yes.
Could they be the people who informed the commissioner about you? As the people in whose command you were working, to say, he did a good job. Could they be those people?
Edelagbare, Ek weet nie hoe hulle gewerk het nie om so iets saam te stel nie. Ek het nie 'n idee nie. Ek was nie daarbey betrokke.
They worked. I do not have an idea.
Because I'm trying to reason it out, to think, how could it be that you receive such important commendation from the commissioner himself? Could there have been some people who went to him to say he did a good job?
Maybe, I think, edelagbare, ek dink, iemand moes hom in kennis gestel het van my gedrag en my tipe werk wat ek gelewer het.
I think somebody could have gone to him and informed him about my conduct, also the type of work that I did.
And if it is General Bates and the two other captains we talked about, do you believe that they could have gone to the commissioner to say, give him a letter of commendation because he did not reveal that we wanted him to change his statement? Would they have gone that far?
Edelagbare, ek kan dit nie sê nie, want ek weet nie. Ek weet nie waar die commissaris inligting gekry het nie, en ek weet nie wat die houding van Gloy, van die kerk, of Buys was, of die ander mense wat daarvan geweet het. Ek weet nie wat hulle houding was nie, edelagbare.
Ja.
So, dis vir my 'n hele onbekende ding, hierdie brief wat u my nou gewys het.
The letter that you have just showed me, it's a letter that I did not know about it, and I did not know what was the reasons for them, if so, to have gone to the commissioner and informed the commissioner about my conduct.
You know what I
and
find?
the type of work that I did, or
What
the
I
type
find-
of good work that I did.
Mr. Are you still interpreting?
My apologies.
Mr. Rodrigues, what I find strange is that when Advocate Pretorius mentioned to you yesterday that there was a commendation from the commissioner that you received, you gave exactly the same reply. You said you have not seen it, you don't know about it. You recall that?
Ja, dis korrek.
Yes, I do.
But then when you left the court here, you did not inquire from your attorneys to say, what was he talking about? Why, what commendation? You just left it at that.
Ja, ek het dit aangelos, edelagbare, want dit was nie vir my belangrik nie. Ek meen, dis iets wat ek nie ontvang het nie. Dit was nie vir my belangrik om na hulle toe te gaan en vir hulle te vra, waar kom dit vandaan, hoe lyk dit? Ek het dit nie, dit was nie vir my belangrik nie.
No, I just left it as is. It wasn't important or imperative for me to have questioned them as to where does that letter come from.
You see, I'll tell you, it's one of the improbabilities in your evidence. If I'll be told that someone has written a letter of commendation about myself, as high as a commissioner, or in this case, say the Chief Justice, and I would say, oh, well, I didn't get it, and I said, is that the natural reaction that we'd expect?
Wel, vir my was dit natuurlik, edelagbare, want dit het my nie geraak nie. Jy verstaan? Dit het vir my niks beteken nie.
Yeah, to me, it was a natural reaction because it did not concern me.
Which I'll tell you, it concerned you. A natural reaction that would not have surprised me is you would have said, but what letter are you talking about? I haven't seen it, I want to see it, what are they saying about me? That I would regard as a natural reaction. But you are told that someone has said very good things about you, as high as a commissioner of police, and you say, well, didn't concern me. Is that a natural reaction, really?
Edelagbare, dit het 'n hele paar jaar gelede gebeur. So dit lê in my verlede, dit raak my nie. So.
Right, now I'm going to put to you, interpret.
This issue of commendation happened long ago. It might have gone out of my mind. That is why I did not have any interest in finding out as to what was the commendation for, or the reason for the commendation.
No, Sergeant Rodrigues. As long as you're alive, you'll want to hear the good things that people have said about you. You can't say that because it's a long time that has passed, so it doesn't concern you anymore.
No.
What do you say? What do you say to that? Is it natural for a person when you hear that someone has said something good about you and you haven't seen it, then you just say, oh, it's a long time ago, so such commendations, some people, in fact, they put them in a frame and they put them in their houses. And you say, oh, well, I'm not sure whether that's a natural reaction. What's your comment?
Edelagbare, ek was...
Say eerder.
Sy edele, ek was, sal ek sê, fed up. Edelagbare vir die polisie. Daai tyd, so, wat hulle daai tyd gesê het van my, raak my nie nou nie. Dit is iets van die verlede, edelagbare.
All what I would say that I was fed up for the police, what they said or spoke about me then, it never had anything to do with me now.
Now, I'm going to put to you what I see as one of the reasons why the police were sitting in the court when you testified in 1972. The one reason is, as you stated, to see if you would reveal what they wanted you to do. Am I correct?
Dis korrek, edelagbare.
That is correct.
The other reason would be to see if you will play along with the story they gave you, which you had to tell the magistrate about what happened. Is that unreasonable to infer that their presence was there to see that you stick to the story of suicide it was given to you?
Dit is nie korrek nie, edelagbare. Wat korrek is, ek het die waarheid gepraat in my verklaring. Ek het nie gesê wat hulle van my gesê het, ek moet sê, nee, ek het my eie waarhede het ek in hierdie verklaring gesê, en hulle het geweet wat dit is, so hulle kon nie om daai rede van wat hier in my verklaring staan, daar gesit het om te kyk of ek sê wat in my verklaring staan het.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the submission from the court could be the truth, because I've already made my statement, and I refused to write down what they wanted me, or the influence that they influenced me about, to say what they wanted me to say. I stuck to my guards and not say what they wanted me to say. So that could not have been the reason for them to have been present during the proceedings.
I will give you the reasons why I say that is also a possibility. The reasons are that after you testify, you were given this letter of commendation, and you were even given protection, bodyguards.
Ja, edelagbare, ek vermoed, hulle het my protection gegee. Ek het dit nie gesien nie, I didn't see it with my eyes. Maar ek vermoed, hulle het my protection gegee na ek die doodsdreigemente ontvang het.
Yeah, I think there was protection offered, but I didn't see the protection. But that could have been done because of the death threats that I received, as it were.
Ja.
Well then, the possibilities, as I said, are two. They could have been happy with the fact that you did not disclose what they wanted you to do, as you said, or they could have been very happy because you did exactly what they wanted you to do, by telling the court a story that is consistent with what General Bass said before you wrote your statement, namely that it was suicide?
Ja, dit moet so wees, Agbare, want ek het die waarheid met my vertaling gepraat. Ek het die ware weergawe vir u gegee.
Yeah, that can be the truth, because I wrote, or I gave them the story as it has happened, as it unfolded.
Yes. So I'm going back to the question that I raised with you earlier. Take into account what you were asked by Advocate Pretorius and Advocate Varney. Do you realize that there is evidence before me that suggests that the story that you gave to the inquest in 1972, which you repeated here, does not accord with the other evidence that I've received, some of which the magistrate heard but did not deal with, the other being that it came now, recently, because the magistrate did not call any other civilians to come and testify other than the doctors and the parents of Mr. Timol. What do you say about that?
Julle Agbare, dis duidelik vir my dat dit een verklaring wat die waarheid is teen al die ander getuienis wat u aangehoor het. Ek kan nie vir u sê aanvaar dit of aanvaar die mediese getuienis nie. Ek kan dit nie vir u sê nie, u moet dit self daaroor besluit.
Yeah, I mean, a testimony that the court has listened or heard about, I can't decide for the court to which of the two or which evidence should be taken into consideration to arrive at a probable judgment. That is in the hands of the court.
Yes.
Julle Agbare,
I'm going to decide, I know that.
ja,
But I wanted to put these things through to you
correct.
so that I should get your reaction to it.
Ja.
You-
Julle
you
Agbare, ekskuus, ek kan nie u beter, groter waarheid gee as wat hier staan nie. Dis die beste wat ek vir u kan doen. Ek kan vir u die waarheid sê, dit is die waarheid.
Word daar iets geskryf?
Wat hier staan is die waarheid. Dis, ek kan dit nie vir u beter stel nie.
There isn't any other way or better way that I could tell this court the truth, but the truth is what is written in my statement.
And you stand by that.
I stand by that. Dis die waarheid. Ek kan nie die waarheid verander nie, Julle Agbare.
That is the truth, and I cannot change the truth.
In spite of the other evidence that shows to the contrary.
Korrek, Julle Agbare.
That is indeed so, my lordship.
As ek hierdie verklaring sou verander, sou ek lieg.
Should I have changed my statement, that would have meant that I lied to this court.
Yes, no, I didn't say you must change your statement.
Yeah.
I want you to be clear
Yeah.
with that. And I called on you to tell the truth. And if you say what you have said is the truth, then I understand what you're saying.
It is the truth, sir. It's the whole truth, the only truth.
The whole
Yes.
godly truth.
Advocate Kutsi, anything in light of what I've asked?
No, my lord, I've got no questions.
Yes. Advocate Pretorius.
Yes, thank you, my lord. Rising from the questions of this court, I'll be short as I can. You have no information about a wrestling in the office from where Ahmed Timol jumped.
No.
No?
Nee, Julle Agbare.
Words are important to you. I've put to you that you are weltertaler. Words are important to you. Is that correct?
Ek het nie gehoor wat sy
Hy sê ek is wel te tale
Ja,
aan.
maar wat is u se antwoord?
Ek is reg. Dis reg.
I am correct.
In answer to the questions put by the court, you specifically use the following phrases. As ek die inligting wat ek gehad het, daai tipe inligting wat ek gehad het, openbaar gemaak het. Is it correct that you give evidence like that?
Dis korrek. That's correct, sir.
That is indeed so.
And when you ask what happened, you said nothing happened because I didn't disclose this information. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's your choice of words.
It might, yeah, it's my choice of words. Yeah. Nothing happened.
The only information that you could have had is information about torture, I put it to you.
Edele agbare, ek moet nou raai, ek moet nou spekuleer as ek wil sê wat hy sê. Ek kan nie spekuleer nie, agbare, dan moet ek raai en ek wil nie raai nie.
I cannot guess or speculate, and I don't want to speculate.
It's your choice that you say, as ek die inligting wat ek gehad het, openbaar gemaak het, and it's also you that said nothing happened because I didn't disclose the information. I put it to you, the information is just about torture.
Edele agbare, ek weet nie. Dis nie wat hulle vir my gesê het nie.
No, I did not know. This is not what I was told.
You also gave evidence this morning that after what happened in that room, you wanted to resign immediately.
Ja,
Yes.
And officers came to talk to you.
ja,
Yes.
ja, edele agbare.
Chloe en Van die Kerk.
Is it joint family?
Yo. I think it was base.
And was that to keep you under control?
Yeah, they want to keep me under control.
No further questions. Thank you, my lord.
Mr. Varney.
My Lord, just one question, if I may. Mr. Rodrigues, you've testified before this court that the one and only reason why you never came forward with the information in relation to what General Base and Captains Gloy and Van Niekerk, their attempt to get you to fabricate evidence, is because of their intimidating presence, and you feared that if you disclosed that information publicly, that harm could come your way. Now, all three are deceased. Are you aware of that?
Yeah,
Yes, I am.
Do you know approximately when those three passed away?
ek het geen idee nie, edele agbare, ek het net daarvan gehoor.
I do not have any idea as to when did they pass on, but I heard about it.
Well, we will put that particular information to this court. But since you are aware that all three have passed away, how come you haven't come forward? Because they no longer pose a threat to you.
Edele agbare, daar was geen saak nie. Ek meen, dis nie soos nou waar ek gedagvaar is om te kom getuig nie. Ek het nie die nodigheid daarvan gesien om nou weer alles oop te flap nie.
Yeah, there was no charges against me, or there was no case against me, so it was not important for me to have come clean and say what they wanted me to say.
So because no finger was pointed at you, it was fine to keep that information secret.
Ja, wel, I mean, ek het daar was vir my geen waarde in om nou hierdie inligting te openbaar nie, hier agbare, want daar was niks in die gang nie, daar was nie 'n saak in die gang nie, daar was niks.
Yeah, I agree with Council's submission, because there was no need for me to disclose.
Well, there was the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that invited people, especially members of the police service, and some generals appeared there, those who were in command of the police, they appeared there in the TRC. Why didn't you find it necessary to go there and say there was this attempt to influence my testimony and by such a person? Why didn't you do that?
Dit was te, hoe sal ek dit stel, eerdagbare, dit was te gering vir my om met so iets na die kommissie toe te gaan.
Te gering.
It was not important.
Important, yeah, te gering.
It's unimportant.
Yeah. It was not imperative for me to have gone to the police to go and report this type of an influence.
But it was important for you to protect yourself from harm coming to you by not telling the magistrate.
Dis korrek, eerlagbare, want dit was toe ek in die polisie was, eerlagbare.
Yes, that's correct. At the time when I was still a police officer.
Are you done, Stephanie? I interrupted you. Sorry.
Just one last matter
Yes.
arising from your question, my
Yes.
lord. Did you get to hear the testimony of the late Timol's mother, Howard Timol? She testified before the Truth Commission about what happened to her son, and she explained the trauma and the pain that she and her family had to go through.
Ek het dit nooit gehoor nie, eerlagbare, ek het nie kennis daarvan nie.
I never heard about it, and I did not have any information in that regard.
No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Rodrigues, thank you very much.
Baie dankie,
You're
eerlagbare.
excused.
Baie dankie.
Yes, thank you. Tomorrow, who are we having? Witness?
Wag, laat ek net hoor wat sê.
So tomorrow, Your Lordship, we think we're going to have a short day. We have Mr. Ronnie Casserols. We also have a witness by the name of Mr. Ali Token. Your Lordship, he was at the filling station opposite the building at that stage. And we may call an architect, Your Lordship, to explain the building plans and certain technical issues arising. Any other witnesses? And that's all for tomorrow, Your Lordship.
That will be all for tomorrow. What I see here, Mr. Salim Esop is here. You recall that in Johannesburg we said he may want to come and identify witnesses, and so is Dr. Jetam is here. Don't intend to call them to identify those from the newspapers as they undertook to complete his evidence.
Yes, I beg your pardon, Your Lordship, you're quite right. Mr. Esop has returned with certain papers, and I believe that those papers have been certified true copies because he wanted to hold on to the originals. So, yes, he is available to give evidence on those papers tomorrow. Your Lordship, can I just check whether you would want Dr. Jetham and Professor Naik to inspect the photos from the media articles? In chambers, you mentioned that might not be necessary.
Well, not relevant much for this case, but for their own good. One of the reasons why they came forward to testify is that they needed closure. I think they'd rather, if they want to, we can do that. It won't cost much. I will allow them to get into the box and identify those photos.
In that case, Your Lordship, we'll approach both witnesses and see whether they wish to do that.
Yes, I don't think it will bring any harm. I take it that those officers, in fact, some of them has passed on, not so.
Your Lordship, in relation to police officers, as to the best of our knowledge and the inquiries that we have undertaken, they're all deceased.
Yes, so Mr. Kutsie, would there be any harm in that?
But Lord, it will only depends on whether or not they will be trying to use that identification, for example, in relation to Mr. Rodrigues or Mr. Else, in which case...
no, but they've already seen them in court.
Yes,
so
but
identification on the photos won't be necessary in respect of these two.
Yes, but it is 46 years later. I don't think it still looks like he did 46 years ago.
Okay.
But if it's not for the purpose of trying to be an informal identification parade to generate evidence, then I can foresee no problem with that.
No, it's not an identification parade in that sense.
Yes.
You know the rules of ID parade.
I do.
It won't be held in this. At the very least, it will be on doc identification in court, not ID parade.
Yes.
So what we are talking about, because you were not there, and I need time to explain to you,
yes.
Mention was made, it was put to Mr. Esop.
I've read the evidence.
Yes, whether you would remember people who did that. He said, well, some of them appeared in the newspapers that I had some time ago.
But Lord, for the purpose of closure, I have absolutely no problem with that. And I think it is good for them to see that, as long as it is understood that it will not be posed as if it is an identification parade in order to gain evidence against any specific person here. But it can never be, my Lord. It can never be as such.
I'm not aware of any proceedings that are underway.
Yes.
It's for purpose of closure, really. And,
by all means.
And I think we owe them that much
by all means,
for having come forward. So I will allow them to do that.
Thank you.
You will decide when you need to call them. It could be tomorrow, it could be day after tomorrow. Are you starting with Mr. Casrels in the morning, or what is the position?
Your Lordship, I think we want to start with Mr. Ali, because he's quite a busy businessman, and his evidence won't take that long.
Yeah. Okay, you will put the order. You will tell us in the morning.
Yes, as the court pleases.
Yes. For now, then we can adjourn until tomorrow. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock.
Eyewitness news.